Water heater installation. Hi, this is Ben with Rescue Plumbing, and we're here to rescue your water heater installation. Today, I'm gonna point out all the really important things you need to account for before installing a water heater so you don't fuck it up. This video is for all those apprentices trying to become service plumbers that can't afford. I was you not too long ago in your position, and I hope this helps you level up to where I'm at. I need you guys right here. I have personally completed thousands of water heater installations with my bare hands. Yes, I have. The number one thing that you need to consider when installing a water heater is space. What? I have to give you a little background history on water heaters to make you understand why space is such a big issue right now for water heater installation. The feds passed all these laws, okay, that made water heaters bigger. So when you go to replace it, the new one won't fit. It won't fit. The connections are not in the same spot, even though you bought that exact same water heater. That sucks, right? I'm gonna save you a couple trips to the parts store, my friend, because time is money, okay? In 2010, the Obama administration's Department of Energy passed new water heater efficiency standards. The purpose of creating these new water heater standards was to cut down on overall consumer fuel costs in America, but with one big unforeseen consequence for water heater installers: not enough space, okay? How do you think they made these water heaters more efficient, huh? How? What do you think? The Department of Energy required that water heaters be insulated much more than previously set standards. That's not good. By insulating the water heaters more, they retain their heat much longer. That is good, ultimately using less fuel overall. Well, all that extra insulation made water heaters increase in size to the tune of 2 to about 6 inches larger. That doesn't sound like much, right? It doesn't sound like much of a difference for a person who knows nothing about installing a water heater. 2 to 6 inches, not a big deal. But for a plumber that has to install that water heater, that's a huge obstacle to overcome. If you're replacing a water heater and the new one you're installing has increased in size, it will change everything, okay? It might mean that you might have to use a different water heater altogether because you bought the same one and it won't fit. They always cram water heaters in the smallest spaces, especially in big buildings and in condo buildings that have no space. When installing this new larger water heater, you will have to perform extensive pipe work to the building's infrastructure to accommodate this bigger water heater. I don't want to do that, neither do you. Here in the Chicagoland area, natural gas powered water heaters are what infrastructures in properties are set up for. The most common type of water heater in this area we service is an atmospheric vented water heater. This one here is an atmospheric vented water heater. When replacing any atmospheric vented water heater, you must take into account the flue piping leading off the water heater that connects to the chimney. It's life and death important to correctly install that flue piping to the chimney, or carbon monoxide will not exit. Carbon monoxide poisoning, it's a real thing, guys. That can kill you, your whole family. They can kill your whole family overnight. And it happens all the time. It's sad.
The investigation continues into the death of a family of 3 in the city's Holmesburg section. They were found inside their home earlier today, the tragic victims of suspected carbon monoxide poisoning.
Let's get down to the business of water heater installation. The first thing I look at when I walk into that water heater estimate I have to replace is if the existing water heater that's sitting there is sized properly for the plumbing system in a home. Let's make a very simple sizing chart for you. A 1-bath house, condo unit with a kitchen, that needs only a 40-gallon water heater. A 40-gallon can take up to a bath and a half at the most, if there's like 1 or 2 people in there. A regular 2-bath house with a kitchen requires a 50-gallon water heater. A 3-bath house with a fancy car wash, shower, and a kitchen requires a 75-gallon water heater. This sizing is for residential water heaters. It's not entirely accurate, but for now, this can help the apprentices get started installing water heaters. The correct way to size a water heater would be to calculate the water fixture units, the velocity of water, and the flow rate. That is complex. It's a video in itself, and we'll do that one in the future for you guys, okay? Typically, in a residential home, you would have had to pass a plumbing inspection when the building was first built. That would mean the water heater is sized properly. But be careful for those DIYers. They might have installed their own plumbing system without an inspection. And you'll know if it's not up to plumbing code, you'll find all these things wrong with the place. They will usually have a water heater that's way too small for all the fixtures because they're trying to save cost on the water heater itself. Okay, let's pretend we're at a water heater estimate right now to replace an existing water heater. The first thing I need to figure out is if I can find a water heater with the same power, with the same water capacity, and the same actual size to be able to hook up to all the plumbing connections safely. How would I figure that out? You have to look at the existing water heater tag. It should state the amount of power that the water heater has in the form of BTUs. It's short for British thermal units. The capacity can also be found on that existing water heater tag in the form of gallons. So after you've found the new water heater with the same BTUs and the gallons, you need to look at its spec sheet. Nowadays, you can find any water heater spec sheet really quickly online. Here's a spec sheet for the water heaters we install. Ta-da! The spec sheet will give you all the sizes of the water heater you plan to install. It gives you the height of the water heater, the width of the water heater, and much, much more. Just take a look at it here. This is my old water heater book that I used to carry. When I estimate water heaters, I always take my handy water heater book with me. I'm old school, I like the paper still. The most important measurement, because of safety, you must look at is in section A, the floor to exhaust connection. The exhaust connection, or more commonly known as this draft hood of the water heater, is what you connect the flue piping to, okay? The flue piping leads from here, and it must be pitched at 1/4 of an inch to pretend the chimney's here. And that's the end destination, through the chimney. This is very important to do correctly, or you risk carbon monoxide poisoning. And make sure you seal that chimney where the flue connects to properly. I always carry a little bucket of pre-mixed furnace cement on my van in case that seal and that connection to the chimney is not perfect. I want it perfect. I don't want no carbon monoxide escaping. So measure the existing water heater from the floor to the draft hood measurement, compare it to the new spec sheet before you install, and make sure that flue has enough pitch. Okay, there's another important measurement you need to account for to make sure the new water heater will fit in its new location. Take a look at section B, the jacket diameter. Jacket diameter is just a fancy way to say width of the water heater, okay? The jacket diameter is the width, but you must remember there's a temperature relief valve. This can add about another 2 inches to that width. There's another thing that you must consider also when thinking about the future width of a water heater that you're gonna install. The safety pan, okay? We do a lot of work in multi-floor buildings, and the condominium buildings, the condo associations, they all require safety pans, okay? If the jacket diameter is 20 inches for the water heater you're installing, a safety pan will add at least another 2 inches, usually 4, but at least another 2. Make sure you measure the width of the existing water heater space so that pan fits in there. And compare the new water heater spec sheet with the temperature relief valve and the safety pan before installing it, okay? Space, space, space is what I keep telling you. It's the most important thing, okay? There are several more factors you must consider related to space when installing a water heater. Let's pretend you're back at the water heater. I found the new water heater I'm gonna put in there. I know what I'm gonna install. I compared the spec sheet. How are you gonna remove the old one? You need to get a tape measure, and you need to literally walk out of the property like this. Wherever you gotta go, hold it like this. If the total width of the water heater is 24 inches, you best make sure that you got a couple more inches in space all the way out to the property. And then what will you do with the water heater after you get it out? Many places, they'll not let you dump that water heater outside the property. Either you have to put it in your van and take it with you, or you have a guy. In Chicago, everyone has a guy. I know a guy. Hey, I got a guy. You got a guy? I know that guy. You have to befriend one of those metal scrapper guys. It's always good to have a scrap guy because they usually will help you take out the old water heater. When you're by yourself, the scrap guy can come to the rescue. I love scrap guys. Okay, forget about the scrap guy. Space, space, space. Now it's time to talk about the actual room where the water heater sits. Here in the Midwest, the main type of water heaters sold are natural gas powered water heaters, and they require combustion, okay? Combustion requires 16% oxygen to ignite. Combustion type fuel water heaters will not work in a confined space, okay? They won't work because of the lack of oxygen. A confined space is anything less than 50 cubic feet. If the water heater you are installing is in a confined space, at a minimum, you should have a 10 by 10 inch opening, 12 inches from the ceiling, and then you gotta have another 10 by 10 inch opening, 12 inches above the floor. If you don't want to make that type of ventilation, making all those openings and creating drywall dust, installing a laveur door can create enough ventilation to fix that problem. Changing a door is easier than opening drywall and installing a registers, okay? Make sure you're installing a combustion type water heater and make sure that it's well ventilated. There's another water heater we install almost as much as atmospheric vented water heaters. This is an atmospheric vented water heater, and they also require combustion. That water heater is called a power vented water heater. It'll have a motor up here. And the same space rules apply for ventilation. When replacing a power vent water heater, you must be very careful of the existing PVC flue piping if it's done incorrectly. And I know most of the time the flue is up in the wall and you can't see it, so you don't know if it's done correctly. It's hard to determine that. The reason I'm telling you this is new power vents have a very sensitive pressure switch, okay? That it'll sense any pressure and turn off the water heater. So if you have too many 90-degree bends in that PVC piping, it won't work. The old power vents work even when the venting is not working. That's nuts, right? They work and they keep shooting it in there. They made that pressure switch more sensitive on purpose to make sure all the carbon monoxide fully exits the building. The way to handle that situation with the client is before you install the water heater, you have to make them aware that if the flue is done incorrectly, you will have to open the walls to correct that flue. It happens to us all the time when installing power vents, so it's a real thing. We also install numerous tankless water heaters that require combustion also. And yes, same space combustion rules apply. Water heaters that combust need to breathe oxygen just like we do. Look, back in 2009, when the feds were giving tax breaks to install tankless water heaters, I was installing 2 of them a day. I learned quite a few things about those tankless water heaters. Everyone wanted to switch from tank-type water heaters to tankless to receive their huge tax cut. Basically, they were getting a free water heater. The big problem with switching from a tank-type water heater to a tankless water heater is a tankless water heater only has enough water volume to be equivalent to a 40-gallon water heater. And it's not even as powerful, I don't think. So if you had a 50 in a 2-story house, it won't keep up with the hot water demand of a 4-person household. Tank-type water heaters build pressure, and they create more hot water in real time than tankless water heaters do. So don't think you can replace a 50-gallon water heater with 1 tankless. You will probably need 2 tanklesses, and that will increase the cost of the water heater install job considerably. Here's a tip for all the combustion type water heaters in basements. Make sure you tell the client not to encase the water heater you just installed with their holiday decorations. You don't know how many times we're called back to a water heater we just installed and they say it doesn't work, the water heater you installed doesn't work, only to find out it's been buried with Easter eggs and holiday decorations and all kinds of stuff and it can't breathe. Let me give you another tip. It's in basements, okay? For all water heaters in basements, look for flood stains. If you see flood stains a couple of inches from the floor, ask the customer about it. You can offer to place the water heater on cinder blocks or bricks. So when they flood, they can continue to use their hot water. We don't only install combustion type water heaters, we install all electric type water heaters also, tankless, tank type. One great tip for when you're installing an electric type water heater is never turn on the electricity until the water heater is full of water, or you will burn out the actual stuff that heats the water. The heating element. Here's one. It'll burn it if you don't have water in it. Let's move on to recent plumbing code changes for hot water heater installs. So when installing a water heater, you must install an expansion tank on the cold side of the water heater. When water heaters heat water, it expands. This device helps alleviate the stress in the water lines. This can help prevent banging pipes. Have you guys ever heard of banging pipes? Another plumbing code update is all hot water piping now in the Chicagoland area has to be protected from freezing. That polar vortex keeps coming down here to the Chicagoland area, and it has become the new norm, unfortunately. So you have to insulate all your hot water pipes to protect from freezing now. We here at Rescue Plumbing install all water heaters, commercial, residential, but we only stock Bradford White water heaters in our shop. The reason is they're the most American-made water heaters in our market today. And Bradford White is better because of the services they provide me. They have sent me their guys to do training with all my plumbers in case something does go wrong when we're installing that water heater, God forbid. When we have had things go wrong with our Bradford White water heaters, our supplier, Ferguson Plumbing Supply, always comes to the rescue and helps us out. For any water heater installation job, we can rescue. Let us send you out a licensed plumber to give you a free verbal estimate on your water heater install job.